Every single year, there is a team that comes out of nowhere in college football. When it comes to first-year head coaches, many probably think that Coach Prime is doing the best job at Colorado, and while I definitely think he is doing a great job, in my opinion, the best year one performance has been from Jeff Brohm at Louisville so far. The Cardinals are currently undefeated, have a couple of really good players, have beaten multiple Power 5 teams, and hoping to have over 10 wins in year one. The last time the Cardinals felt this good was 2016. At the time, they were led by their superstar quarterback Lamar Jackson. Bobby Petrine was the head coach, and they would climb all the way to number 3 in the country before losing to Clemson. While they did have a tremendous year, they did fall flat by the end of it. But what if I told you that the last time the Cardinals were this good, you have to go back a decade? In 2013, the Cardinals were under head coach Charlie Strong, and they got off to a 6-0 start, led by their star quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. The Cards ended up having a tremendous season, in which they went 12-1, and Charlie Strong would take the Texas job. As we all know, Bobby Petrine came in and fixed things for Louisville, but he would leave a huge mess after the 2017 season, and Scott Satterfield would have to come in and pick that up. After a very odd tenure, Satterfield decided to take the Cincinnati job, and from there, that would open up the door for the hometown hero of Jeff Brohm to come back and save the day. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the rise of Louisville football. We're going to go through how they got to this point, talk about how the players and coaches got to this point, go through this season so far, why they've been special, and what I think the outlook in the future will be for them. Before we get started, quickly be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, let me know what topic I should cover next, and turn on post notifications so you never miss when I upload. Now let's get started and talk about the rise of Louisville football. Louisville football is a very proud and historic program. Since the turn of the century, the Cardinals have won 9 or more games 10 times and have produced some pretty big names. At the quarterback position, they've had guys such as Brian Brohm, Teddy Bridgewater, Lamar Jackson, and most recently Malik Cunningham, and they've been one of the more consistent programs in all of college football. The Cardinals have gone off to a terrific start this year, but no one on the Cardinals' current roster was on the team the last time the Cards were ranked this high. That came in September of 2017, but before the Cards could rise, they sort of had to fall. When you think of the name Bobby Petrine, you probably think of some of those famous images or some of the scandals that he has been involved in. Besides all that off-the-field stuff, Petrine was actually a pretty solid football coach and had 2 different tenures at Louisville. He was credited for their awesome 2015 and 16 seasons, but by the end of the 2018 campaign, he was done. After a 2-8 start, Louisville decided to move on from Petrine, and with 2 games left, they would start to find their next head coach. Who would that guy be? Well, it would be Scott Satterfield. When you think of Appalachian State football, most probably think of the 2007 upset against Michigan, but towards the middle of the 2010s, the Mountaineers had quickly become one of the most respectable Group of 5 programs. They almost beat Tennessee in 2016, beat Michigan State, and would later knock off both South Carolina and North Carolina in the same season. But Satterfield was gone before that could happen. He was hired as the next head coach of Louisville, and was seen as a guy who could stabilize the program, recruit for the Cardinals, and clean up the mess that Bobby Petrine had made. I remember being very optimistic for the Satterfield hire at the time, and Louisville would bring him in, while the Mountaineers would replace him with Elijah Drinkwitz, who would quickly become the Missouri head coach after. But turning back to Louisville, Satterfield immediately made the Cardinals better in year one. In 2019, the Cardinals were led by their new quarterback Malik Cunningham, their superstar running back Javion Hawkins, and breakout receiver Tutu Atwell. The Cards would host Notre Dame in week 1, and in that game, they were pretty competitive and showed that Satterfield was going to get the job done. Throughout the rest of the year, the Cardinals would end up winning 6 games, including a victory over number 19 Wake Forest on the road. They'd go 7-5 in the regular season, and then would beat Mississippi State in the Music City Bowl. The team went 8-5, and that is why the Cards were preseason ranked going into 2020. While the 2020 season was crazy, the Cardinals did not exactly live up to their hype. They were ranked against number 17 Miami, and that is when their awful defense showed. In that game, they gave up big play after big play, and this would translate to 4 straight losses coming to Miami, Pittsburgh, Georgia Tech, and Notre Dame. While their defense would improve by the end of the season, the Cardinals in general just couldn't really get things going. They did beat Florida State, Syracuse, and Wake Forest, but they also lost road games to Virginia Tech and Boston College and got beat in a shootout by Virginia Tech. All in all, the Cardinals went 4-7 in 2020, and it was a pretty disappointing season for them. In 2021, Cunningham was once again back, and he was pretty much the entire offense. He was their best passer, their best rusher, and they really didn't have a go-to playmaker in the receiving game. They lost their opening game to Ole Miss, and from there did exactly what you could expect of them. They beat all the teams they should beat, but ended up losing to a ranked Wake Forest team, a solid Virginia team, on the road against NC State, against Clemson, and against Kentucky. But as I said, they beat who they should have beaten, and ended up getting to the First Responder Bowl, where they lost to Air Force. On paper, that is a terrible loss, but if you actually look into it, Air Force is probably the most underrated team in all of college football, as they've been consistently winning a boatload of games. But that stuff doesn't matter when the fan base is annoyed. 2022 was going to be Satterfield's make or break season. Cunningham was back for another year, and former Syracuse transfer Jawar Jordan had started to step up at the running back spot. They also brought in transfer Tyler Hudson at receiver, and he became one of the best receivers in the ACC. Louisville, though, was all over the place. They got blown out in week 1 by Syracuse, and then took care of UCF at home in week 2. That game almost was a loss. After that, they lost in the last minute to Florida State, and even dropped a horrible road game to Boston College on the first weekend of October. Throughout the first month, the Cards were 2-3 with 3 conference losses, and it looked like Satterfield was done. But then, he saved his job. They went on the road and beat Virginia, knocked off Pitt at home, destroyed number 10 Wake Forest at home, beat a really good James Madison team, competed against Clemson, and then beat number 24 NC State. The Cards went 5-1 in those next 6 games, with 2 ranked wins and their only loss coming on the road against Clemson. That was pretty respectable. Unfortunately, they ended up losing in their rivalry matchup to Kentucky in the final game, and while they did go 7-5, no one wanted to end the season on a loss, especially to a rival. After that, Satterfield decided he was going to take the Cincinnati job. This situation was very similar to something that happened in college basketball just 2 years ago. After Shaka Smart continually underperformed at Texas, he took a downgrade job to Marquette and basically avoided all the firing and messiness. That is exactly what he did in this case, as Luke Fickell had now left for Wisconsin. What's ironic is that Cincinnati would be matched up with Louisville in their bowl game. In that matchup, the Cardinals would destroy them 24-7, and this was pretty embarrassing for Satterfield. But we're now done with him, and we now get to talk about the guy who is a hometown hero who could save the program, Jeff Brohm. Jeff Brohm has always been a big deal in the Louisville area, as he was a star quarterback for Trinity High School, and then went on to play for the Cardinals for a couple of years. He was terrific for them, and while he did go undrafted, he made a mark in the professional football scene. Famously, he was in the XFL, and after getting hit really hard in the game, many were wondering how he could suit up, and he had his famous phrase, "Let's play football." Jeff would move on from playing to coaching, and would head back to his alma mater as the QB coach in 2003. After being pretty good at his job, Nick Saban apparently wanted him to be his offensive coordinator at Alabama, but he would deny that, and then move up the coaching rank. He went to FAU, Illinois, and UAB, before he'd eventually take over as the head coach at Western Kentucky from 2014 to 2016. While he was there, he had some great quarterback play, helped establish the Hilltoppers' great, terrific air raid offense, and won a good amount of games. In total, he won 30 games at Western Kentucky and compiled a 22-5 record over his last 2 years. After that, he was hired at Purdue to replace Darrell Hazel, as the Boilermakers had gone 9-39 in their past 4 years, and in his first year, Jeff would take them to a bowl game. The Boilermakers went 7-6, and all in all, he had a terrific career there. He went 36-34 in 6 years at Purdue, and even got them to the Big Ten championship game in 2022. On his resume, he notably upset number 2 Ohio State in 2018, number 2 Iowa in 2021, and then number 3 Michigan State in 2021 as well. He developed some star players, such as receivers Rondale Moore, David Bell, and Charlie Jones, first-round pick George Karlaftis, and had some steady quarterback play in David Blau, Aiden O'Connell, and Jack Plummer. Notably, after the 2018 season, there was something known as Brohm Watch, where many Purdue and football fans around the country thought he was going to go home and take the Louisville job. But as we've already covered in the video, they decided to hire Scott Satterfield instead. With Satterfield going to Cincy, this would leave the opening for the Cardinals, and now it was time for his long-awaited return. Eventually, he was hired by Louisville, and their athletic director said, quote, "The Brohms are synonymous with Louisville, and Jeff has made a lasting impact on our city as a high school star, college quarterback, professional athlete, and coach. What excites me the most about Jeff is he's had success at the highest level, and to put it simply, Jeff is a proven winner." There was going to be a lot of hype for Brohm at Louisville in year 1, but no one necessarily thought he'd have this much success. He was expected to earn about $6 million over 6 years, and that money is definitely going to pay off. But before we could talk about this year, I want to introduce you to the players who have made Louisville football so successful this year. The first is Jack Plummer. Coming out of Gilbert, Arizona, Plummer was a part of the class of 2017 and was a 3-star recruit. He signed on to go to Purdue, where he would first take over in 2019 and would throw for 1,600 yards and 11 touchdowns before he would get hurt. In 2020 and 2021, he would rotate between starter and backup, and after seeing the writing on the wall, decided to transfer to Cal. He went across the country and threw for over 3,000 yards and 20 touchdowns, and with the NCAA allowing players to have an extra year of eligibility, he's since transferred to Louisville for Jeff Brohm's first year and his final year. The next guy I'm going to introduce to you is Jawar Jordan. He's also from Chandler, Arizona, and coming out of high school, he was ranked as the number 13 all-purpose back in the country. He originally decided to go to Syracuse, and after playing there in both 2019 and 2020, he did not see the field much and transferred to Louisville. Last year, he broke out with 800 yards on the ground, and so far this year has been arguably their most exciting offensive weapon. He had a field day against Notre Dame this past week and has nearly 700 yards and 8 touchdowns through the first half of the year. And now to the guy who has single-handedly put the passing game on his back, it's Jamari Thrash. Coming out of LaGrange, Georgia, Thrash was ranked the number 200 wide receiver in the class of 2019 and would arrive at Georgia State hoping to make a name for himself. With the Panthers, he became one of the better group of 5 receivers in the country, and in 2022 broke out with 61 catches for 1,122 yards and 7 touchdowns. He maybe could have gone up to the NFL, but instead decided to enter the transfer portal and join the Louisville Cardinals. So far, he has 30 catches for 519 yards and 6 touchdowns, making him one of the better receivers in the country, and the guy who has really helped Louisville's offense run. Those 3 guys are super important to the team's success, so now let's talk about how they've actually done this year. So after researching and reading a ton of Louisville previews, I'd say that the average Cardinals or college football fan thought they'd win between 5 and 8 games in year 1 for Jeff Brohm. Personally, I thought that was pretty reasonable, as I had them winning 7 games as well. In week 1, they get a chance to show down with another ACC team, as they would play against Georgia Tech. This game would come on a Friday night, and it was actually quite thrilling. Despite some horrible quarterbacking from Jack Plummer, the Cardinals ended up winning 39-34 after Haynes King and Georgia Tech could not complete the comeback. The Cardinals advanced to 1-0, before in week 2, they'd play 9 quarterbacks in a 56-0 win over Murray State. Louisville was exactly where many expected after the first 2 weeks, but week 3 would actually cause some concern. They were set to play against Indiana on a neutral site at Lucas Oil Stadium, and after getting out to a 21-0 lead, it looked like all was well for the Cards. Except in the second half, they gave up 14 points to one of the worst teams in the country, and Taven Jackson almost tied the game, but IU came up short at the goal line, and Louisville ended up winning 21-14. While a win is a win, many thought that Louisville was a fraud, and it was definitely troubling momentum for them. After that, they beat Boston College 56-28, but once again, that really doesn't move the needle, as Boston College is also horrible. In week 5, they'd play against NC State on the road, and this was their biggest challenge to date. On the road against the Pack, Louisville ended up winning 13-10 in a close one, and they are now off to a 5-0 start. They'd be ranked number 25 in the country for a Saturday night showdown with number 10 Notre Dame. The stadium was sold out, it was put in a primetime slot, and many Cardinals fans were hoping they could take advantage of Notre Dame's previous loss to Duke. That is exactly what would happen. While the first half was slow, Louisville truly broke out in the second half. Jawar Jordan had 2 big touchdowns, the Cardinals' defense played insane, and Notre Dame's offense and program looked completely lost. This was a major win for Louisville, and they clinched bowl eligibility during the first weekend of October. In terms of the rest of their season, they really do have a path to 9 or 10 wins. This Saturday, they're going to play against Pittsburgh, and if you've been keeping up with the Panthers, they are pretty awful this year. While in some sort of twisted, weird way, it wouldn't surprise me if Pitt pulled the upset here, I think this is definitely a winnable game for Louisville, and a game they absolutely should win. After that, they host number 17 Duke at home, and while on paper that looks like a really difficult game, the Blue Devils still may be without their quarterback Riley Leonard, and this game's at home, so it could be close. From there, they get Virginia Tech at home, which is still trying to figure things out, and they also get Virginia at home, who is awful. Honestly, there is a real chance they could win all 4 of those games. After that, they go on the road to number 25 Miami, and while I'd probably pick the Hurricanes to win this game, after what Mario Cristobal did this past week, I wouldn't be so shocked if the Canes fell off, or if something stupid happened for them to lose the game. Finally, they'll host their rival Kentucky at home, and just like the rest of these teams, I'm not sure which Kentucky team we're going to get here. The Cats had a pretty easy schedule to start out the season, and just got exposed against Georgia. We'll find out if they're the real deal, but for now, on paper there's a chance that Louisville could win all 6 of these games, but if I had to make my official prediction, I say they only win 4 or 5. Duke, Miami, and Kentucky aren't awful teams, and I don't think Louisville is that elite that they can just easily blow by all these teams. I will say though, my prediction is that they end up going 10-2 and playing a really good bowl game. Jeff Brohm has done a tremendous job in year one for the Cardinals, has Louisville back near the top of college football, and should be the coach of the future for them. While their current 2024 class is a bit concerning, Jeff Brohm is definitely known as a recruiter, so I think he's going to figure it out, and with more momentum, should be able to bring in some better commits. I really love the future of the quarterback position, as they have both Pierce Clarkson and Purdue transfer Brady Allen, and it seems to me that the defense has actually been really solid. So in my opinion, Jeff Brohm is going to build Louisville into a consistent top-tier ACC team. It's been pretty fun to watch them so far, and I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on them for the remainder of the year. But if you're a Louisville fan, what do you think? What did they get right and wrong in this video? What's your official prediction for the rest of the year? And what are your overall thoughts? Be sure to let me know down below. Leave a like if you want to support today's video. Let me know what topic I should cover next, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon.